I'd like to change themes completely now and look at a particular kind of pawn structure, namely the one I have on the screen here. I call this the 3-3 versus the 4-2. White has 3 pawns on the king side here, and 3 pawns on the queen side. That's the 3-3. And here's the 4-2. 4 pawns here on the king side for black, and 2 on the queen side. 4-2 against 3-3. And you can see there are 2 open files in the middle for white here, or 1 semi-open file. But black has an extra centre pawn. You could say that white has a queenside pawn majority. And I'm going to be looking at positions sometimes with the pawns here, perhaps the b pawn advanced as well. Sometimes black has the pawn here. But basically, this is the pattern. 4-2 against 3-3. And sometimes black has these pawns advanced on the king side as well. So open or semi-open d-file, C and d files for black, and semi-open or open d-file for white. Why on earth should we be considering this particular pawn structure? Basically because I feel it's one of the most common pawn structures that arises in modern chess, actually. And if you're not convinced by that, let me try and do that now, before I return to this position. So, for example, you can reach this position from the Sicilian. Here's a Najdorf variation, and we arrive at this position, typical Sicilian or Najdorf middle game, and black breaks open with d5, and lots of exchanges take place, and you can see we've arrived at 4 pawns on the king side, 2 on the queen side, and white has 3 and 3 here. That's the structure we're looking at. So typical Sicilian. It doesn't just come from the Najdorf, from other Sicilians as well. Or how about the c3 Sicilian? There we are. It can also, c3 can come on the second move as well. It can transpose. And we see after a few moves, let's just leap ahead a few moves, that black exchanges on d4, and we're left with 4 here and 2 here against 3, 3. There we are. So that's a c3 Sicilian. We can get it from the French. Here, this is the Rubinstein variation, or you can also get it from the Bern variation. In fact, it transposes. Let's just take a look at this. c5, there it comes. And you can see after that pawn exchange exactly where we're heading, into a 3-3 versus 4-2. Let's just go a few moves further on and you can see this. I mean, this can occur from many different variations from this. So here we go, and we have our familiar structure. Of course, completely different positions in terms of where the pieces stand, but there are common themes just because of the pawn structure. Okay, next, how about the Tarrasch, the French Tarrasch? There we go, this very popular variation, queen takes d5, and you can see after white recaptures on d4, which happens in most variations in this line, we have our familiar pawn structure, 4-2 against 3-3. Next, so that's the French. Here we go, Caro-Kann, very common structure in the Caro-Kann. Have I convinced you yet? Where black often breaks with c5, and we arrive at that structure. So if I can leap on a few moves, I'm going to zip through. In fact, let me just get to the critical position. Here we are. And c5 takes place. Sometimes this break occurs earlier in the game, but it's the most common pawn break from this particular structure. And there we are. We have our 4 on the king side, 2 on the queen side, and 3-3. This time pawns are a little further advanced, but it's basically the same structure. Okay, what other openings do we have? Well, those were the e-pawn openings. What about d-pawn openings? Well, here's the structure that arises from one particular variation of the Queen's Gambit accepted. And if we see a few moves later on, we have, let's leap ahead to, well, let's just play the moves out actually, because it doesn't take very long to get there. There we are. We have an endgame where this time its colours reversed. White has the 4 pawns on the king side and the 2 on the queen side against black's 3-3 here. Okay, another d-pawn opening, this time from the Queen's Gambit. So we started out like this. Queen's Gambit declined, and if we leap a few moves further on, this variation is very well known from the Alekhine Capablanca World Championship match in 1927. This is a slightly different variation, but if we just see, here we go again. It is white once more that has the 4-2 against the 3-3 from black. But it's basically the same structure, it's just I reverse the colours. Okay, have I convinced you yet? This one is from a Queen's Indian. So there we are, that's the start of the game. Typical Queen's Indian, Bishop A6 variation. Let's leap ahead a few moves. White plays E4, C5 comes. Okay, you can see how it's going to arise, this structure. There we are, we have it. And this time black has the 4 and the 2 against the 3-3. There we go. So all very similar. And what have we got here? An English. Of course, this has the character of a kind of Sicilian, and we've already seen that you can often get this structure from the Sicilian. There we go. Same structure from an English, and also from another English or Reti opening, and this time from a hedgehog. It's extremely common. This is the so-called hedgehog setup that black is playing here, with he's kind of behind the 6th rank. But if white actually gets in the E5 move, then you can see we arrive at this structure, and so on. 4 on the king side, 2 on the queen side against 3-3. Have I got any more examples? I can't remember. Oh well, we're getting into our main game now, but before we do that, we'll take a little break so I can have a quick slurp of tea, and I'll see you for a discussion of this crucial pawn structure that I am sure will come into your games.